Welcome back to the playoff edition of Profit Picks as we have the NBA playoffs kicking off today. Very excited. Finally, playoff basketball. Every game matters for every team. We won't see any lollygagging. We won't see any players sitting out for no reason. This is what we've been waiting for. So I'm very excited to get going, and hopefully we can all make some money and cash on the playoffs. We'll start with each. We'll go through each game just like we used to do, and I'll maybe mention if I like anything on a series bet. I'll look at player props on each game, and we'll just go through the card that way. First game on the card, I see the Jazz facing the Nuggets. Opening line was three. It's now up to -4.5 for the Nuggets. Total opening 217.5, and we're now seeing 214.5 across the board. And I agree completely with the move towards the Nuggets. Jazz will be without Conley, and I mean, there's some debate. You can debate about it if the Jazz are better with or without Conley. But the one thing I will say is when Donovan Mitchell's not on the floor or if Jordan Clarkson is not on the floor, they need another playmaker. They need a guy who can do that pick and roll, who can give them some rest. And without Conley, they don't really have it. They're missing Bogdanovich as well, their second leading scorer. It's just tough to see this Jazz team get it done here. Nuggets, chemistry continues to grow. They will be without Gary Harris and Will Barton, but I mean, this is a deep team. We've seen it time and time again, and we just saw it in the restart. They were playing without Gary Harris and Will Barton pretty much the entire way, and they had an important game and they took care of it. I think they played the Jazz and won 134 to 132. And this time the Jazz will be without Conley, so I like the Nuggets in this one. Looking at, I mean, if you look throughout the entire season, Jazz defense was a little better, rebounding was a little better, but I just think this Nuggets team got better as the season went on. Their offense is definitely better. I think Jazz struggled to score, where Nuggets scored pretty easily. And it's just looking at one little stat for the Jazz, you'll hear me reference this throughout probably as far as we go in the playoffs. I say when their teams are playing competition, and if you hear me say that, that's pretty much teams with the win percentage greater than 55. And looking at Jazz versus competition with the line between 2 and 8, total less than 230, they're 0 and 7 straight up, losing by an average of 11.29 points per game, and they're 2 and 5 against the spread. So I like the Nuggets here. I like the Nuggets to come in and take care of business. If I had to play the spread, it would be minus that 4.5. And as far as the total, I understand the line move down. I mean, these are two teams that want to play slower. I mean, Nuggets have the second slowest pace in the league this season, and Jazz are not far behind, sitting at 24th. Without a point guard, an extra point guard, and Mike Conley, I can see it. Missing Gary Harris, missing Will Barton. You're also missing a little bit of defense there, but I can understand the move. I'm not sure I agree. I know they play a little bit slower. I mean, that's a low total. It is the playoffs. You would expect some defense. They're missing a couple scores for the Jazz, but I mean, look at the last game we just saw. Majority of these players who are out didn't play besides Mike Conley. Final score 134 to 132. Granted, I think that game went to overtime or maybe double overtime, but I could see them scoring in this game. So I think it can creep over that 214.5. I think it maybe has moved a little too much. So if I'm playing this game, it's going Nuggets minus the 4.5, and it would be the total over 214.5. And looking at, if I mean, we say we like the Nuggets to start. I mean, I definitely like the Nuggets on a series bet. I think the Nuggets can get this series over and not let it go more than 6 games. I guess I like the Nuggets. I saw a Nuggets series minus 1.5 games, so pretty much it's like a 4-2 or 4-1 win, or even a sweep would do it. But I don't think they sweep them. But I think the Nuggets get the job done at least 4-2. I think the Jazz will struggle to score a little bit too much. So I like the Nuggets series minus 1.5. I last saw that minus 115. And if we look at a player prop for this game, I would have to go. If we look at a player prop, I'd have to go with. I mean, look at who's all missing from the Jazz. Jazz are missing Mike Conley. They're missing Bogdanovich. That's the second leading scorer. That's the point guard. Where's the offense going to come from? We of course expect it to come from Donovan Mitchell. Who else is going to step up? It's going to be the guy that they got in the middle of the season, I believe, and he kind of steadied their offense a little bit when they were going through a drought. He was the guy that would step up and put up those buckets. And that's kind of what he's been doing everywhere he goes. That's going to be Jordan Clarkson. I like him to have over 17.5 points in this game. That's sitting at minus 120. But if the Nuggets, if the Jazz are going to have a chance at all in this game, somebody has to score. And it's either going to be Donovan Mitchell or Jordan Clarkson. I think they both have a shot to do it. And I think Clarkson can eclipse that 17 and a half points. So we'll go with Clarkson for that one. We'll move to the next game, and that's going to be the Brooklyn Nets facing the Toronto Raptors. And a lot of these Nets players, they didn't even play in the restart, but they will be available today. Opening line minus 9.5. Toronto now up to minus 10, and total open 222, and it's still currently sitting at 222. And in this game, I kind of want to talk about the total a little bit first. This total is interesting. When you look at this initially, Toronto's been going under time and time again, right? I initially think Toronto can come in and just hold Brooklyn down, but you also have to consider Brooklyn. They've been playing at a little bit faster tempo, going up and down the floor. Granted, they haven't had some of their players that they will have back for the playoffs, but they've been pushing that pace, and it makes me a little uncomfortable with the under. Although I know, who's going to control the pace? The question is usually, is it going to be the home team or the better team? But there's no home team now. I do believe that the better team can control the pace in the Raptors, but I also believe, the Raptors are comfortable either way. They're comfortable running. They're comfortable playing in half court, but it's just the defense. And so I looked up a couple stats on this total, and I'll share them with you guys. Looking at the Nets, when they play competition, with the total between 218 and 232, the over is 11-2. The average total was 223.6, and it went over by 8.12 points per game. That's the Nets playing up tempo versus these better teams, and teams just running with them. 11-2 to the over. So that kind of makes me pump the brakes on the under, and maybe we just see how the Nets have been playing in this bubble. Maybe it continues here. Another stat, it's the opposite side, but I think it's a little correlated. If you like the Raptors in this game to cover the 10 points, I think you probably like that under. I think they hold the Nets down quite a bit, and it stays under. And the other way, if you like the Nets to cover this 10 points, you probably like the game to go over, because if the Nets are playing a good game, they're going to be playing how they want to play, which is up and down the court, up tempo. So I would go with the Nets. Or if you like the Nets, I would take the over. But here's a stat for all teams, not just the Raptors. Game 1, with the line greater than or equal to 10, the under is 13-5-1. That's 72%. Shout out to my friend Ralph Michaels for this stat right here. But I think, like I said, that shows the correlation. And in this game, we know historically, I think, or at least recently, Raptors are not good in game ones. And I think 10 points is maybe too much in this one. So I would lean more with the side of taking the 10 points with the Nets and going over the total, thinking they maybe play their up-tempo style in this one. And the Raptors are forced to play with them. So we'll go plus the 10 for Brooklyn and over the 222 on the total here. And I don't really love a series bet in this one. I won't force it. I will look for a player prop though. If they're playing up tempo, it should be a lot of shots going up and down. Maybe a lot of misses, maybe a lot of makes. But I see Ibaka, his rebound prop sitting at 6.5 minus 112. He averages about 8 rebounds a game. So I think that's a pretty solid pick right there. If I had to play a player prop in this one, it would be Ibaka over the 6.5 rebounds. And we'll go ahead and move to the next game. We have the 76ers. This one's going to be a good one. 76ers facing the Boston Celtics. Sixers without Ben Simmons. We'll see what they have. It's Embiid's time to shine. Boston Celtics opening as a 5.5 point favorite. It has since moved to -6. Total opening 219, and it has moved down to 218. And this one I have kind of mixed feelings. I mean, initial thoughts looking at this is Celtics are pretty healthy. We know they have their main core. 76ers without Ben Simmons. I don't know how much I love it. I don't know how much I love them with Ben Simmons. I don't really love the 76ers at all anyway. But I do think that they can play a competitive game. So initial thought is Celtics are healthy. They can probably run away with this one a little bit. Then I do a little bit more digging, do a little bit more research. And I'm like, maybe Philly can keep it close in this one. I look up some stats. Philadelphia without Ben Simmons versus competition this year, 4-1 against the spread. The average line was 7.9. They're 7.9 dogs, and they covered by 10.3 points per game. But 4-1 against the spread is pretty good, man. They're getting 6 points here. Average line in that one was 7.9. I mean, it looks like I know Embiid has something to prove here, and if he can do it versus anybody, I mean, the Celtics team is pretty small. So when I look at it like that, I also look at, in general, the team. 76ers should, in theory, win the rebound battle here because the Celtics are small. Celtics have been the second leading rebounding team in the NBA this season. Both teams, they're pretty solid, or at least the Celtics are pretty solid on defense. We'll see what we get on defense from the 76ers. I think it may be a little bit too many points. I trust the Celtics to maybe win this game, but I think Philly can keep it close. And I don't feel too comfortable laying the 6 in this first game. I would lean more towards grabbing those 6 points with the Sixers and just expecting a big game from Embiid, at least to keep it competitive. I don't think they get wiped off the floor in this first game. Granted, they could lose. They could lose by 7 and lose that bet, but it's just how I feel. It's not extremely strong, but that's the way I think about that game. And looking at the total, I would have to say I disagree with the line move. Opening 219, going down to 218. I know they're missing Ben Simmons, and when you think of that, you like to think of they're going to miss pace. But, both of these teams have been scoring. Looking at it in the bubble, Philly averaged, over 120 plus. Celtics averaged about 119 points per game. I know the bubble restart games didn't have so much defense, not much to play for, but we're seeing some scoring, and the Celtics team is healthy. I think they can put up points on the Sixers team, and I think Embiid has his way with down low versus Celtics. The over has hit 11 of the last 14, I believe, for the 76ers. I look at it again. I question myself about Ben Simmons and the pace that they will be missing. But hey, it's a little bit of an overreaction or correction or however you want to call it. 76ers without Ben Simmons and a total less than 223. The over is 6-0. Average total in those games was 217.8, and they flew over the total by 19.33 points per game. So I would disagree with the line move, and I think this is more of an over spot. I think you're getting some value on it because Ben Simmons is out, and I would have to take it that way. So we'll go 76ers plus the 6, and Sixers and Celtics over right now sitting at 218. And I don't really love a playoff series in this one simply because, not great odds for the Celtics to win, although I trust them. The value would be to take the Sixers. And, Sixers, they could compete. They could take them to some games, so I'm not comfortable laying a spread on the series. I do expect probably the Celtics to win. I'm not a big believer in the 76ers, but it's just not great value on the Celtics right now, in my opinion. So we'll skip over the series and we'll go to player props. If I had to play player props in this game, it would be I would look at the Sixers. I mean, the Celtics have so many guys. They're healthy. They have, I mean, any guy can show up any night. So we'll look at narrow it down with the 76ers. They will be without Ben Simmons. And what does that mean to me? That means that they need somebody to play make. They need somebody to handle the ball a little bit more than they might usually do. And who could those people be? You may see Tobias Harris trying to get his little shine a little bit, but in my opinion, I think these two are probably the best ways to go. The first one is a little juicy. The second one is a dog or a dog line. We'll go Richardson, Josh Richardson, over 2.5 assists. It's currently at minus 149. That's the one kind of chalky a little bit. I think, I mean, without Ben Simmons, you could see him going and scoring, and he could be dishing it off, doing some playmaking. Somebody has to do it. So we could see a little bit more from him than we usually see. And the next guy up that I would think would be Embiid. If you want to play through somebody, it would be Embiid. Maybe he gets double teamed. Maybe he gets some easy dump off assist. Maybe he gets double teamed, pass it to Tobias in the corner, hits a couple threes. Anything of that nature I could see happening. So I would go with either that Josh Richardson or Embiid over 3.5 assists. And that one is plus 117. So those are the two ways that I would look in this game here. And we'll go to the final game. Final game here is going to be the Mavericks versus the Clippers. And we'll see. We got the opening line Clippers -6, currently going up to half a point to 6.5. And total opening 229.5. I'm sorry, I had a glitch on my screen here. And currently sitting at 229. Now, this game I agree with both moves, the side and the total. And I mean, this one is pretty clear cut in my opinion. We've seen these two teams play, I believe, 3 times this year, and it hasn't been good for Dallas at all. Dallas has struggled mightily. They've had a game where Porzingis and Luka have about 30 apiece. Porzingis has 30, Luka has 29, and they still lose by 15 points. That was their best shooting game out of all of them. They shot about 35% from the field. The next game, Clippers play without Paul George. They still win by shorter margin. They win by 3 points, but they still win. That's without their second star player. They still hold Dallas to 28% from 3 point, and it just seems pretty consistent to me. They play them again. They hold them to 28 or 29% 3 point, 38% field goal shooting, and they win by 15 points again. And so, how is this happening? This is a bad matchup for the Mavericks. The Mavericks are pretty perimeter dependent, or I don't want to say dependent, but that's where they score a majority of their points from. Like, they need their perimeter players to handle business. It's not like they're dumping it down low. And that's where the Clippers strive. Like, they're a great perimeter defending team. You have excuse me, you have Kawhi, you have Paul George, you have Patrick Beverly, etc., etc. Patrick Beverly may not play in this game, but even without him, I mean, you have more than that. If you have Kawhi and Paul George, and you can just switch them on Luka all night, or even if it comes down to crunch time, let's say you don't have a Montrez, he's questionable. If nobody can stop Porzingis, I'll put my money on Kawhi to be able to slow him down a little bit. And I just think that's what we've seen. We've seen these guys struggle because Clippers are so great at defending the perimeter. Looking at both of the offenses, I mean, number one and number two offense throughout this season, but the Clipper defense is way better than the Mavericks defense. Clippers rebounding advantage. Clippers are going to score a lot of points in the paint, a lot of easy baskets. And Mavericks, they're not a team that scores in the paint like that. They're 26 scoring points in the paint this year. Both teams shoot the three really well, but Clippers are better defending. I have to like the Clippers here, but I want to talk. I want to talk about the total first. But I like the reason you like the Clippers is because of that defense. They're going to hold Luka and Porzingis, so that means the total is going to go under, in my opinion. I mean, it could go over if the Clippers are blowing them out and they don't really necessarily care anymore. But the way I see this game is just like how the first time they met up, they want to shut him down and show him that all the hype about Luka is not going to happen when they play them. And we've seen it before. We'll see it again. In my opinion, I'll show you a stat or tell you a stat, and it's going to be the Mavericks versus competition. This time, I'll say it because it's a little more than 55% win teams. It's playing 65, greater than 65% win teams with rest and a total less than 236. Total less than 236 is included because that just means that teams care about playing defense at least a little bit. Like it's a game that matters. Um, and that's what this game is. And Mavericks are 0-7 against the spread, 0-7 straight up. They lose those games by average of 4.57 points per game. I can't trust the Mavericks here. I already have seen it a few times. I know what the Clippers are capable of, and I can see it here again. And looking at the other side for the Clippers, Clippers with Kawhi, with Paul George, facing these better teams, 55% win teams or greater, or 55% win teams between 55% and 75%, and the line is less than double digits. They're 5-0 against the spread. The average line was minus 4.6. They covered by 12.8 points per game. So, I mean, I think those two line up pretty well. I think you like the Clippers minus that 6.5 points, and I think you like the under. If you like the Clippers, you like the under because we like them because they're going to shut the Mavericks down. Clippers will get easy baskets as well, but we like them because they'll shut the Mavericks down. If you like the Mavericks, you probably like the over because both teams are pretty good on offense. If the Mavericks are scoring, I'm pretty sure that the Clippers can keep up as well. So we'll go Clippers minus the 6.5, and we'll go under the 229. As far as a series bet, I do like a series bet in this one. I've talked quite enough about it. I don't need to repeat it, but Clippers should dominate the Mavericks defensively, and Mavericks are going to have a hard time scoring and winning games. I don't see them winning 2 games here. I could see them getting swept. They may sneak a game in and win 1 game, but I don't see them winning 2 games. So I'd have to take the Clippers series under 5.5 games. And if we're looking at a player prop, I'm not a hater, man, I promise. But it's just the way that I see the game playing out and the way that I think I've seen it a few times. But like I said, that first game, Luka had 29. They still lost. They shot, 35% from field goal. Player prop I like the most is Luka under 29.5 points. And I've told you the reason why. So many perimeter defenders, I think they can just switch all game long and just wear them down and control the game. So we'll go with that one. Luka under 29.5 minus 122 on that. And that is going to be it for playoffs today. We'll be back tomorrow and every day going forward, as long as we have playoff games Monday through Friday. Good to be back on Profits Picks. Best of luck if you tell everybody, and let's have a profitable playoffs.